Hello, everyone. Welcome to the February koha-US Cataloging Special Interest Group. Um, I don't have anything particularly noteworthy to bring to people's attention right away. Does anybody have anything they'd like to bring to the group? Questions, comments, neato stuff? Cool mark fields. Fred said he doesn't want to go first.
I have something to share and also a question.
Please.
To hopefully get some help. Thank you, Heather.
Of course.
Good morning, everybody. This is Aly. I wanted to brag on myself a little bit and also give a little shout out to Lauren and Fred, because I did a big thing. We got a notice from OCLC that we had some eights as second indicator in some of our records and some of our fields, and I was like, what? I was like, that sounds really odd. And so I went, downloaded the entire collection and searched them out in MARC Edit and found them and they were in like 650s and 655s, and I was like, and they were really old records. So
yeah, they're in fields where we just don't normally have an 8.
Exactly. It was really weird, but like I said, they were really old records, and so I felt a little better with that, because I was like, oh, I wasn't responsible for those, but I figured out how to, because baby steps. I figured out how to edit those fields and remove those 8s and then reload the entire collection back up into the thing. I did I think I don't think I made a mistake. I'm thinking about it. Felt like I did something wrong that I had to go back and fix it again, but I don't think I did. I don't remember. I think I was just so pleased that it actually didn't break the system. So but I know Fred and Lauren, I know y'all do that all the time. You're just kind of like in there just like, oh, let me just change this little thing and I'll just do it for the entire collection and nothing goes wrong. And so I was nervous. But I was pleased that it went correctly. I was thinking of y'all when I was like, please go. I was like, please work. I was seeing your faces. But
this is great, Aly.
Thank you. But also on top of that, you all also find other problems. And so I noticed that we have a lot of 440s and instead of the 490s. So I don't think I really understand how to do it in MARC Edit, or if I can. And I've tried to do it in Koha, and I don't really know if I need to use regex. I tried to use it and it would, on a couple records, and it didn't. I don't think it worked right because I don't really know what I'm doing with regex.
Yeah, changing the 440s into 490/8XX pairs is super duper fancy. And what I always like to say is that 440s are old. They're not necessarily wrong.
Okay.
They still work in Koha because that used to be the standard. They're no longer the standard for new records, but they still kind of work.
Right, that series information, it still shows that. Okay, so maybe I'll just leave those alone then.
They're definitely lower on my priority list. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't address them, but I'm kind of treating those as a sleeping dog for right now.
I gotcha. All right, thank you guys.
See, is all you're doing is just changing 440 to 490? Does anything else need to be changed?
It does when you do that, because a 440 is transcribed and traced and is an added entry. But if you change it to a 490, you have to set the indicator correctly to say, please trace this, please have an added entry. And that's going to be in the 8XX field.
Okay, this may not work the way you would like it to. that. Let's have no, that's
And it's
not
like
right.
it changed the indicators, which is, you know, a good start, but it didn't pull over the series information. So I don't know if I was doing, I don't know what I was doing wrong, so
Is
that it didn't do that.
I think the answer is going to be no. Is the series the 8xx file always going to be the same thing, or is it going to be, is it differ by record?
I know, you know, some records, they seem kind of different. Like one will have like the blah blah blah, and then the 830 won't have the or something. You know, it's not like big, huge differences, but you know, sometimes there are differences.
The articles can be ignored in the 830, and they are not ignored in the 490.
Okay.
This is a project that's on my to-do list, but we have a lot of journal titles that have ended up in the 440 and 490, and I don't think that's where they belong. So until I can solve that problem, I'm afraid to touch the rest. It's on our things to discuss, is how do we want to treat journals and reprint? We have a lot of reprints in our libraries. And so where does the journal title go? So that you know where it was originally in. Because right now, everyone did the simple thing. They just put it in the 440. Didn't use the indicators that, like, they're like, oh, that sounds good. Let's just put it in the 440. It says series.
Wait, I'm confused. Are you talking about like for an analytic record in a journal, and then they put the journal title in the because the 4xx fields and 8xx fields are for monographic series, not journal.
This is where 80% of the libraries that entered into our consortium did not have trained librarians. They also, the guys who converted the old data into the new data were not trained librarians. And the old system, I guarantee you, because I've worked in those, there's only one place for series. Like, you don't get a choice like Koha, where you can put it in multiple places. And when it was entered in, no one knew. And I don't know. I'm like, I still don't know where it goes, so I can't. But that's where, and we still have, because we don't have trained librarians. And they're like, oh, well, it's a series. It's treated like it's a series. And so that's where they're putting it.
I'm going to ask a question and then tell me more. So the only case I can imagine where you've cataloged a thing and it's got a larger thing going on, like it's in a journal title, is an analytic. And in that case, that journal title can be mapped to the, can be changed to the right 7xx field. Yes, no?
So some of them are analytical. A lot of them are like, they've got a copy of the article. Either someone printed it out or made a separate copy and it's in the drawer. Or like they bought, it's a
single issue
thing. It's a single, just the article of that journal. And they wanted to keep, and I agree, somewhere in that record needs to be the title of the journal, the volume, the page numbers, and all of that.
773.
It's the 77, because they put it all in the 440 or 490.
773.
So all of that belongs in the 773, whether for a journal or like an analytical, where I've like indexed, in a sense, articles within a journal, because I know that's the 773.
Yeah,
but also
if I have one Paris review and that's all I've got, and I have a bibliographic record for this, then the journal title goes in the 773. If I want a record for an article within this Paris review, 773 host item. They're both analytics. No
Okay.
matter at what level, if it's the whole issue or the article.
Thank you. Now all I have to do is identify what's an article, what's a journal, and what's a book. I am just about we skipped articles and journals in this item type project. We're like, we don't want to go there.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking, if I'm understanding correctly. Others, please chime in. If
Well,
Fred, yes.
uh, okay, you remember in our presentation in Lawrence, so one of my slides was me using a wrench to pound nails. This is what I've been working on this week, and there are little bits of it that just might help you. So I have, this is for the author's catalog, and a lot of the entries, well, this is for conference activities. The call number was 097. I decided to change it to 098 because that's sort of a more reasonable call number. For articles, the PubMed ID unique number is in the 099, except I found I had about 1,000 duplicates. And now I have to figure out why, but that has nothing to do with what I'm going to show you. So let me see if I can share my screen. Let's see if I can share the full screen. Okay, do you now see?
Yes.
Okay, what it did was export. Let's see, column 1 is the 097. Column 2, let's see, activities, moderator, presented abstract, paper presented at. I also had, I can't find it, the 699. Anyway, it was the date of the conference, place, name, place, and date of the conference. And so this is actually, let me see if I can find a better. Sorry. What I really needed was an earlier one. This may be the one. Let's try this. Please have. Okay, yeah, 698D. $251 is another type of date or activity or something where something was going on. 260C is the publication year. 269F is the fiscal year. So what I did was fill in these columns with the proper dates, and then turn that into a replace text file. And let me show you.
This is such a creative use of Koha for an index database, Fred. It's so cool.
Yeah, I did a few presentations when I first started. Maybe I should go on the conference circuit again, showing how
Yes.
I redid it.
Yes.
Okay, so eventually I ended up with, okay, here's the unique number for each record, which is now the 098A. And what replace text does is take one line and replaces it with another line. So here is the 098A. And this is what I want to replace it with, which is the same thing here. And the year, heading, year, heading, and fiscal year.
So I'm
And
gonna ask, are the like the curly brackets, is this getting kind of regexy or?
no,
Okay,
I don't know regex. I'm sort of trying to avoid learning regex
okay.
because I'm not sure my brain can deal with it. I
You
will
can
get
tell
into them.
that like I am also pretty unfamiliar with it. I've seen it. I've touched it a little bit, but that's it. I'm regex curious. That's it.
Oh, okay. So one thing I really like about Word that LibreOffice doesn't do is it will let you find and replace, but you can replace with a paragraph break.
Mhm.
So I imported all this into Word. Let's see if it's gonna work. Probably won't. Whoops, I hate it when I do this. I'm going to import it as a table. My apologies.
No. Take your time.
I'm gonna have to paste it as plain text. I always do that.
I do the same thing.
Oh, never mind. Okay. Paste as plain text. Okay, here we are in Word. Control H, find %, replace with $P.
And caret P is your paragraph break?
Mhm.
Okay.
So now we have 098A. Okay, so this, first of all, I'm going to get rid of this. So I have this text and I want to replace it with this text. So put it in Notepad. And I'm going to save it. Word 6 as that's been my default file name since 1978. Okay, now I'm going to go into replace text and I'm going to, actually you can see it here, but never mind. I'll add a group so you can see. Okay, so then I import search replace table. So here you have 098 that will be replaced by 098. The bracket E is a line break. So I'm going to have 260. And oh, this is going to make a mess, but it doesn't matter. I already made a mess. This is the file I want to replace. And let me change the properties from editing OPI. 8, replace. And that didn't work. Oh, because that's the first file, not the.
I'm kind of reassured by that because most of my things don't work the first time.
Yes.
Especially when someone is watching you. If they're not watching you, it works perfectly.
It works perfectly. And of course, it is going to.
And then you have to tell us about it later at the next meeting, like Aly.
Right. So where am I here? Okay. And well, naturally it didn't. It ended quick. Okay, let me start again. If you want to go get a cup of tea, this is, first of all, sorry it's taking so long. But I hope maybe you get the idea of how this might be useful for
Yeah,
things.
no, it's interesting because you're boldly going where I've never gone.
Okay, and I'm going to add a file, which is, about editing OPE. I forgot to put in the E, never mind. Destination, that's what I'm looking. Actually, K, because I don't know how. All right, now let's see if this works. Okay, it made 0 changes because obviously this is going to work for me. But like Julia Child, I have a finished one. And I assure you, it actually has worked once at some point. With luck, I can show you. If it had worked, about okay, this is one where it worked sort of. I have the call number, and then on the following line, the year, and the following line, fiscal year. And I did this for each record in the database by choosing the unique identifier. So if you can do that and you need to add something in a more or less predictable pattern, it's possible.
That's really cool. Thank you for showing us that.
Lauren, I don't know if it'll work for you or Aly. If you could replace that with say 440 with a 490, and then if you can predict what is in the 800s, fairly easy to add. You can put that in another column in your spreadsheet. And I'm not sure if there's a limit to how much text you can replace with. I've never found, I've never run up against any limit. And there's probably an easier way. I've never found anyone who has needed to do this particular thing. But apparently there might be someone who could sort of, steal my idea and build on it. I hope.
Or, like we say, share and collaborate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Harvest. And sorry to take up 15 minutes.
No, that was really interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, my goal is when I get to the journals is how I use the select records to edit feature in MARC edit
Mm-hmm.
is tell it to, okay, find everything that has this in that field and then pull them out and then edit, like move from 440 to 830 or 490 to 830. But I don't have the pattern in my head yet. And Koha likes patterns. It likes it likes algebra and geometry. It likes those geometry proofs that
Being software.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not yet an AI that we can just talk to and say, okay, imagine.
Logical, but not reasonable.
there you go. But I don't know if AI is much better on that logical and reasonable. I don't know if they've been able to teach AI how to reason. It knows how to use logic, but only what you've told it. So if you change your mind a lot, it gets confused.
A friend of mine did a series of Medline tutorials, and once she said, okay, if you think like a computer, it'll do this. But if you think like a human, it'll think it does this. By the way, hi, Bruce.
Hi, Bruce. So does anybody else have anything they'd like to bring to the group?
Yeah. Sorry, Matt, waiting for my test procedure done.
You're kind of breaking up, Bruce.
Yeah, I'd say I'm surprised. I'm in a doctor's waiting room and masked. I'll probably do it today.
Yeah, remember 56K modems?
Oh, we lost Bruce. Oh, but I really appreciate the effort to join us. Okay, Bruce is back. Anybody else? Any successes to celebrate? Questions, tips, tricks, bugs?
Okay, I found a bug, almost filed a bug report, and then found out that it had been back. The solution was available in the new, I think 2211, and it was backported to 22 something, which is one version beyond what I have. But when you're printing catalog labels and you only print one, and you want to do a PDF, it will always print in the top left. My colleague Jory, the acquisitions department. And I'm not sure if it's, I think if you export batch, or no, sorry, if you select a couple of records by clicking on the box in the right column, it'll also do that. But I'm looking forward to upgrading my version of Koha and see if that's still a problem.
Do you have a bug number by any chance?
No, afraid not.
Okay.
Let's see. But let me see if I can find.
Thank you. You're back, Bruce. We can see you. Thank you for such a valiant effort to join us.
I've got a problem to share with. I think I can stay online for more than 3 seconds at a time.
You're still breaking up. We can kind of get like about 7 words out of 10. And I think you're frozen. Nope, you're moving. Maybe turn your camera off to save bandwidth while you're trying to talk. Oh, we lost Bruce again. Okay, Bruce, I'm seeing a box for you. I don't know if you heard, one thing that might help is turning off your camera while you're trying to talk to save bandwidth.
We'll see if that works.
That's better. The audio is better. Yeah. So what did you want to bring to the group?
Bruce, you're muted.
Well, while we're waiting to see if Bruce can get back to us, the new design for the staff interface is progressing, and I'll put the link in the chat. Okay, Bruce, we can hear you. Go ahead.
I seem to have lost my index. All of my authorities have dropped down to 0 references. I can't use a catalog search to find anything. On the other hand, if I go in and look at the specific records manually, they're all still there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
And
anybody
a
has
reindex didn't help.
wow, I would suggest the system administrators special interest group and the main Koha email list for this, because this is a problem that I think might be
Yeah.
at a level beyond the records.
Beyond cataloging.
Way beyond cataloging, unless anybody else has
Agreed.
any other ideas.
Do you remember what?
Okay, so I'll just shut up and listen to something else.
Do you remember
No.
what happened right before, or is it something that you hadn't seen in a while on Oops? Where is it?
I'd been going on daily to update records and clean up my authority files, and that was going on for weeks. And all of a sudden, I say, "Wait a minute, they're all zeros in the authority links." And there wasn't anything particularly that I did in between. And I've also had problems upgrading from the version I'm using to old stable. Every time I try and do that, the whole thing crashes.
Oh,
So I have plenty of problems, but I don't think they're cataloging problems.
If they are, do let us
I'll look that
know, and do let us know how this goes.
Oh yeah. Will do as I can.
Heather, I've been looking for that bug. I can't find it.
Well, maybe bring it to us next time.
Okay. I'll find it about 2 seconds after the meeting ends. You know.
Yes, that happens to me. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to bring to the group? Oh, Margaret, yes.
I'm not sure if this is a thing or not, but we were talking about 10-digit ISBNs versus 13-digit. Many of our records have both.
Mhm.
Some only have a 10-digit because they're old. Our acquisitions person has trouble getting the records to match in Ingram to reorder something. I'm not explaining that well, but the question is, should we try to get rid of the 10 digits? Is there any point in doing that? Is there a way to find all the records that have both, and then we could get rid of the 10-digit one, or find the ones that are only 10 digits and do something about that? I don't know. What do you
I,
think?
You,
I
you know,
think they,
you can convert from one to the other.
Yeah.
How many records do you have?
A lot.
You
Couple of
could.
100,000.
Hmm?
Couple of 100,000 maybe.
Okay, this isn't going to
That
work
many.
then.
That we've got that many items. We don't have that many records, certainly.
Export the, I guess the 099 and the 020A, and bring it into a spreadsheet. And if there are two of them, there will be both numbers with a semicolon in between. That's not going to work for your collect unless you have someone who doesn't bore easily.
Have you tried running a report of everything in the 020 field and then exporting just those records and looking at it in MARC Edit?
I guess that's what I need to know how to do. I don't know what report to run to do that. I looked around and I couldn't find one that did exactly that.
There is one because I copied it.
ooh,
let me go look for it.
Sounds like an SQL thing where where this field has 10 numbers, but only 10 numbers.
Yeah, I think that's what I want to know. Something like that.
I'm gonna learn SQL around the time I learn regex.
Yeah, me too. Exactly. Me too.
I'm gonna pop in while Lauren's looking and say there are two sources commonly used that I know of for report. No, okay, I'm gonna say three sources. There's the Koha reports library on the wiki, and I put the link in the chat. There's also Mana, which is a function that you can enable in your Koha catalog.
And we haven't
And
ever done that. Tell me about that.
Yes,
I
please.
love it. I think it's really cool. Let's see, we have it turned on in our Koha catalog. Let me see, I'll share my screen. Let's see, let me do this and this. And
While Heather's doing that. So the reports wiki that Heather just shared, you're looking for bibs with a specific MARC field. And then you can create a list, or you can run the report. And the newer version of Koha has the option put in a list. But I do recommend making the amount of records appearing on a page to be very large, because you have to add, it'll only add records from that page at a time.
Yeah.
So like if you have 20 records on a page and there are 2,000, that's a lot of pages.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had,
Change
yeah.
it to 500 records per page. Can you tell I've done this before? Once you get it to a list, you can export as a MARC field, which Fred showed me how to do that, and I was just ecstatic. It was wonderful. So after Heather does that, we can show you how to Fred could actually show you.
Sounds good. So can y'all see our catalog?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we have Mana enabled, and after we're done, while Lauren and or Fred are showing you things, I will look up the how to enable Mana, and you can do new report, new SQL from Mana, and you can put in a keyword. Like here, I'm going to put in ISBN, and it shows me all these reports. I can just import into my catalog. And it's really neat. I love it. And you sometimes have to do some tweaking. I'll put a link about that too. And when you have a report you really like, let's see, you can share it to Mana. And I always recommend sharing your reports both to Mana and putting them on the Koha Reports library, because as you know, not everybody has Mana.
So these are not visible in the regular Koha Reports library, whatever's in Mana. That's more. Extra.
Right. They're completely separate. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and this probably applies only to me among this group, but depending on how your institution's firewall is set up, some SQL reports, especially ones with wildcards, I can't even save. If it's not working, and you can think of no reason it wouldn't, firewall probably isn't, you're just doing something wrong, but firewall might be an answer. Fortunately, I work from home part of the time too.
So Lauren or Fred, do you want to show? Oh, you're muted, Lauren.
Do you want to show or do you want me to show her?
I'll go ahead.
Okay. This is courtesy of Fred. Okay. So you pick
Yeah, but I've
any
talked too much.
report. I do too. So and I will. Okay. So I run a report. And here's my results. And now I love this feature here. So I can now, if you have record modification, I just like MARC Edit. I haven't learned how to use the record modification. So I add it to a list. Okay. And note, it's only gonna add what's on the page. So it only added the 20. And so I'd really rather just do them all at one time. What I haven't learned how to do is how to take them out of the list once I've done this. Okay, add to list. I don't know why it didn't do that.
You can do delete from the list. And I think it deletes the records, but it keeps the number in the list. So you've deleted 13 records, but you still have 13.
Okay. So now it's saving. So now I'll go to my list. always have the hardest time finding the list after. I need to clean up my lists. I have too many.
I'm right there with you.
Okay, here we go. So, the list. No, we're getting rid of that. Okay. Download as an ISO. And again, remember what you called it and where you put it. Not saying that I've ever lost something before and had to download it like 5 times. All right now.
Again, me.
Okay, so now I'll move this up so that you can see. I'm going to do something that Windows is not going to like, but MRC. Yes, I do.
Well, you also have to set Windows so that it shows the file extension.
Oh. And now it's become a MRK. And it's now in MARC Edit. And I can edit and do everything I want to my little heart's content.
Wow.
So now I could even, like now I can search for what are my ISBNs. You can tell I haven't cleaned all these. So a lot of mine, they're not supposed to have the dashes.
Yeah.
So some of yours may be just get rid of the dashes. And that might fix your problem. But then you can see, and that you can copy and then paste it in a notepad or in a spreadsheet.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
Okay, and do whatever you want. But I've done, that's how I clean a lot of my like authors or subjects. I'm like, okay, I don't need 5 different ways to say this. I'll just do a search for that field, copy, paste it in Excel, tell it to divide by the $sign or the equal marks, or, you know, something to split it into columns. And then I can search, and it's a lot easier to like find what's wrong in a spreadsheet sometimes than from a MARC Edit report. But that's how you do it. That was, Fred showed me that and my heart just pitter patter. Oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Yes, yes, yes. I was so excited. I can now fix my 856s, and that may be how I do my 490. Like just run a report for the 440 field, export it, separate out the journals, modify it. That one simple thing. I keep saying, Fred, we need to do a video, all the ways to get MARC records out of Koha. Because there's more than,
yes, please.
It's not just a simple import everything from your library. You can, there's more ways. If anyone else knows of another way.
You know, it would be great if you would do maybe a series on the ways with the MARC records. Yeah, you know, 1, this one, 2, this one, please. And then they could go into a playlist.
What I really love about this group is no one thinks this type of joy over that type of subject is weird.
I'm excited now. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Tell us how it goes.
I will.
Yes,
And what was
please.
actually the problem?
or problems, all of them, because, you know, we've probably got those same problems in our catalogs. So yeah, and that's what we're here for, to change that feeling of overwhelm. Oh my gosh, I don't know where to start, into joy and excitement and celebration.
So I must say, with 100,000 or so records, you might have a more difficult time of it. I think our book collection is something like 15,000, and the author's catalog, well, is under 10,000.
Well, the cleanup of 100,000 records begins with but the single report.
True.
And you could easily create two lists. Like if the number of records with ISBNs is really, really large, like 100,000, then okay, let's do them in batches of like 25 or 50,000. And because you have to, I kind of wish I could say, do all of this report to a list instead of each page.
Write that bug for Bugzilla, or perhaps it's in Bugzilla.
Oh, and you probably know this, but maybe not. After you have all your ISBNs in the Excel file, you can select one column and do a search and replace. You look for a dash, replace it with nothing. And if there are dashes elsewhere in the record, they shouldn't be affected.
Very good tip.
I think that's one thing we don't have is 13 digits with dashes in them. I think we've either got 13 digit or 10 digit. If I could figure out how to find the ones with only a 10 digit. I don't know. I still need to figure out what it is I want to know.
Yeah.
And then
could your acquisitions tell you, like give you a list of titles that the problem is occurring in, so that you can just look at those 5 or 10 records? It's a whole lot easier to spot a problem if you only have 10 records. What do these 10 have that these 10 don't?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And pinpoint it there.
Yeah.
And then the people at the web dev special interest group or the system administrator special interest group are really good at helping with reports too. Or the main koha list. Or the koha-US list there. Yeah, many options. But please let us know how it goes. And once you do get that report, please either share it, please share it to the Koha reports library on the wiki, and also Mana if you do that. And if you need help with that, let us know. I've put reports on the report wiki, and I'm always happy to help.
Yeah, when I was setting up macros, I borrowed yours from the wiki.
Aw. I borrow others too.
Another nice thing, we can steal each other's records or reports or anything. Everyone thinks it's fine.
Share.
I was telling Heather, there is one record in OCLC or in connection for this. It's a vendor record. Thank you for teaching me that term. Maybe I can find it somewhere in WorldCat.
And if you upgrade that record, I know others will appreciate it. Well, we have just a couple more minutes. Anything else quickly?
Yeah, if anyone wants a little more detail about what I was showing you.
Bruce puts a helpful tip that says to find a 10-digit ISBN, look for first digit O. That's true. The 13-digit ones tend to start with 9.
Ooh,
and
nice.
The 10-digit ISBNs tend to start with other first digits based on the country of publication. Take a look at the MARC 21 field link that I put in with the history of the content.
So are for the 10-digit, do those start with the country code?
They tend
Or
to start
all
with
zero?
0 or 1 if they were published in English in a country with English.
It's, Quebec, I think, was 5, and
Yes.
French.
Yeah, no, the United States is usually 0 or
Okay,
1.
Lauren, you will have that problem.
Yes.
I will have that problem. Yes, I will have, though a lot of them were published in the US, and the US still does a lot of publishing. It's very sad that authors in Africa and Asia, but especially Africa, it's really hard for them to get published because they don't have a lot of publishing houses there. They don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the money to do them. And so a lot of times it's outsourced.
Yeah, I know Penguin was doing a lot many years ago. I'm not sure if they're still doing it. An African Writers series.
But it's still published in the US.
Yeah, I think so. Either that
We're
or
still
Britain.
but we are someone has brought that problem to the surface. And so some people are like, oh, well, yeah, we should, but instead of like helping supply them with the materials and teaching them how to set up the publishing and all of this, we go the easy route.
Hey, you're
It's
gonna.
easier to just tell the author, yeah, but they still don't get published. Someone said that there's, I heard a speaker once at a conference that said, people in India or Ethiopia who are academics, they have the same qualification and degrees of people in the US and UK cannot get, publishers won't read their material, they won't publish their material. And so they need people within those academic circles saying, no, kind of championing them. Yes, no, this is a good book. And a lot of it, the publishers won't take the chance because, well, no one knows you, we won't make money.
Well,
Yeah.
we're at the top of the hour. I want to end on a bit of a high note and again applaud Aly's success and thank you for sharing it
Yes.
with us. Way to go.
Thank you.
And I can end on a
Also,
silly note.
I also identified with Margaret's issue because I've found, and I don't know if this is the case, but I found that 10-digit items don't show up in WorldCat. But if you go in and add that that 13-digit, it'll show up, at least as far as our catalog goes. It won't show up unless I add that 13-digit.
Wow, that's a good tip.
Which involves like, I'm glad Lauren told me how to do that, because what I was doing is pulling up a page in Koha and like going through and looking at it, seeing which ones only had 0 ISBNs that started with 0, or if it had both of them. And so I'm like kind of touching not every record, but the records that I do touch, I'm having to then look them up in OCLC to get the 13-digit ISBN so that it does show in WorldCat. So I don't know if that's unique to me or if that's really an issue for just 10-digit ISBN.
If that's the issue, once you download it into MARC Edit, do a select file, I can't remember what it's called, but look at your 0 to 0 field, look at your ISBN field, and then it has a drop down list. And I think it has starts with, and select everything that starts with a 0.
Okay.
Pull that out and then just say, add blank at the beginning. Or what I'll do is, but ISBN has a, I'll do $A to find, and then to replace, I'll put $A and whatever I want to put at the beginning, because I don't know how else to tell it.
Except aren't they slightly different? I think the check digit would be different.
they?
Yeah, there's check digits. So converting
Yeah,
a 10
new check
digit,
digit.
Jason put a link in the chat. Yeah,
Yeah,
converting
so
a
you-
10 digit to a 13 digit's not simple.
It's
Okay.
tricky, but you can do it with reports, and that's not exactly what you need there. But I have the logic built in there that converts it to then render it as a cover image, because that's what I needed it for. But there are a few other reports on the wiki that have that sort of logic in it too, to convert
Okay.
ISBNs backwards and forwards from 10 to 13.
Crescent wrench. Take all the ones with have just 10 digits. Download those from OCLC or Z3950 or something. Create a merge file with, let's say, the 999 C, and then add the 10 digit.
Mm.
That should work. Does that sound
Okay.
reasonable?
Okay, everyone. So this is your homework. I know I'm going to be taking a look and let's talk about it again in March. We're a little bit over. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.